What is going on, YouTubers? Good morning or good evening, in case you happen to be currently residing in the Western hemisphere of planet Earth. So that says, if you happen to be living in the western part of planet Earth, maybe somewhere that is more west than London. Yeah, probably. Yeah, since so far as I can see from the map, yes, Google Map. So far as you travel, roughly speaking, approximately speaking, so far as you travel further than London to the west, then pretty much you made it across you made it across the eastern hemisphere, from eastern hemisphere to the west, roughly speaking. Yeah, but that is not the point of this video. I just in this video I just like to read and give you guys my own review about another book I came across recently. Of course on the web, since currently I can afford the printed book, the authentic printed book, but due to various reasons, in particular, the current ongoing censorship, online censorship in China and in other countries that have stringent export-import policies, against certain or certain group or a few certain groups of printed publications. I currently can't get the printed book, so I just like to read the PDF book instead. Please don't ask how I get it. Of course, through the internet. But in case you wish to learn more, please feel free to go to my Patreon page or send me a private message via Discord. In case you feel interested in learning more about how I got the PDF book. but in any regard, I am in no wise encouraging you to get the PDF book instead of the printed book. Whenever and wherever possible, I always highly encourage you guys to get a printed book instead of a PDF book, since reason number one, you have something tangible to hold with your hands. Main reason number two, it gives you more motivation to read and finish up reading it than getting a PDF soft copy. Since you have spent a certain amount of money purchasing the printed book, though not so much, it still gives you another reason to finish it up. Yes, no matter what. So long as you don't feel that your very own life is being threatened or intimidated by some other by another person, or and whatnot, and blah blah blah. But and then reason number three, it makes the video filming process more convenient, more much easier to implement, to put into put into practice. In other words, you have more time. It's not that you will have more time, but it gives you an opportunity, or an ample amount of opportunities to film a video to increase your overall views and the overall amount of traffic incoming to your YouTube channel, or even your personal website or any other website you have already built yourself. In order to make yourself more money, to gather yourself more funds, and etc. Yes. And last but not least, reason number 4, it's a chain reaction to purchasing a printed book. It gives you it kind of facilitates momentum building, aka self motivation. During some harsh and difficult circumstances, like the circumstances I got myself currently stranded in, where I have pretty much no one to encourage me. Well, at least no male role model to encourage and instruct me. Not to mention giving me a direct command to do something, to follow a certain formula or pattern of attaining success, or a certain mission or assignment objective, in order to get myself on the right track without frequently getting myself sidetracked, thus improving the overall efficiency. So without further ado, let's start building some momentum by getting started reading and giving you guys my reviews about this book I found on the web. It's called so let me read the title of the book first. It's called Selling Techniques That Work No Matter How Many Calls You Make. Lessons from 100,000 cold calls. By Esther Rogers, apparently. Just need to check if I pronounced the name correctly. Stuart Rogers, yeah, that's British accent. Yes, I set my iPad to read, to read the text in British accent. In British Posh Accent, to be more specific, and yes, so did I set the voice of the Siri of my iPad, to read in British Posh accent, and French, of course, set to female voice. Well, you know the drill. Why? You guys know. You guys should know exactly why I did so. Well, it's kind of to do the utmost best to immerse myself into the environment I wish I am in. So, but it's yes, it still runs quite contrary to the reality here. But regardless, I have wasted enough of your time by talking about some more mumbo jumbles. But yes, let's get started. So chapter 1, we have selling black cats at midnight, making 100,000 cold calls. It's been quite an education. Over the last 25 years, I've called over 100,000 business decision makers throughout the United States, selling software, hardware, advertising, training, and technical information. Yes, do notice that this book it's published in the States, so many of its selling a fair disclaimer here. Many of its selling techniques might or might not work in Great Britain or in any other country than United States. So do take note of that. And then we have I doubt businesses of all sizes representing virtually every industry, from healthcare to manufacturing, retail to wholesale, financial services to education. I've both purchased call lists and created them. I've used sophisticated call management software and index cards. I've spoken with VIPs of all descriptions and more receptionists than I care to remember. I've generated leads, arranged appointments, and sold products directly. What I haven't done is call customers at home. I don't believe it. I don't believe in it. Calling folks while they are trying to eat dinner seems rude and unnecessary. Besides, individual consumers have been so abused by fast-talking scam artists that legitimate telemarketers don't have a chance. Well, the odds are that you aren't gonna likely acquire their personal cell phone number or their or the number of their landline telephones at your potential consumers or customers or clientele's residences. So I suppose this the author here might want to delete the this paragraph that I just read, since it's common knowledge, right? But yes, to those who don't have such common knowledge, adding such paragraph, yes, the circumstance might just necessitate adding such paragraph into the whole book, into the whole text. So I do get a bit of drifts here. So I do get a bit of drills here. But yes. Then we have, I prefer selling business products to business people during normal business hours. The process is surprisingly, how do I pronounce this word? Cordial, yeah. The process is surprisingly cordial. Cordial. In fact, in all my years of business to business B2B, telemarketing, fewer than 10 people have ever hung up on me in anger. Many prospects seem to welcome my calls. Glad to learn the latest about this or that without having to research the marketplace themselves. Yes, so yes, I am sure that most of you guys, or I should say at least some of you guys who have been paying attention to my channel, who have been watching my videos on a fairly regular basis, then you guys should have known that yes, I also cold call some leads, and yes, some of my company's potential clients, from time to time here or there, more or less, west or east, so yeah, so far I can say that I have agreed to most of the techniques and the information presented by this by the author of this book. So far, except adding the paragraph, while what I haven't done is call consumers at home. Well, it's yes, just do it at it's fairly common knowledge that don't call them while they are at home. don't call them outside ordinary business hours. That says, yes, I suppose not that I suppose, but I believe that in each and every country, in each and every at least civilized country, not a failed state like Somalia and or South Sudan and countries like that, each and every state, so long as it's not a failed state like South Sudan, has a legislation or a legal system that bears so much resemblance to the Telephone Marketing Act, or more colloquially known as the Don't Call Act. Well, I suppose yes. So far, if my memory still serves, it is what it is so called back in my days while I was still derping in Australia. One shouldn't cold call any business entities or any other individuals outside the ordinary business hours. Well, yes, you can certainly cold call while to Australian individuals or business entities on Saturdays, but not on Sundays, not on public, not on statewide or nationwide public holidays and etc. So far, that's what I can recall from my memory. But in regards to in regards to the regulations and the legislations pertaining to cold calls, to telemarketing, yes, and and so far I can say with pride that I have been adhering to that law, though most of my potential clients don't actually think much of what I do when it comes to making cold calls, but still, yes, let's proceed. As a telemarketer, I'm like a blind man selling black cats at midnight. I can't see my customers, and they can't see me or my product. Hour after hour, I repeat my pitch, straining to be heard in the dark above the other hawkers, searching for the perfect words spoken in the perfect way that will lure the curious for a closer look. When someone finally stops to listen, I have less than 30 seconds to explain who I am, what I'm selling, and why the person should listen for another 30 seconds. I have less than 30 seconds to push an unconscious button within the listener's psyche, signaling that I'm safe and worthy of consideration. Yep. Basically, the first 30 seconds of a cold call can determine how long such cold call might last, and the final outcome of such cold call, and whether you have managed to, whether you would retain such lead or pretty much lose such lead. As far as I am concerned, based on my personal experience with making cold calls, yes, and yes, you will certainly come across some occasions, where your potential customers or clients might threaten you, might intimidate you by shouting at you, saying, I will alert the authorities. I will call the police if you don't stop calling me right here, right now. I will report your number to the authorities, or to what sort of committee, what sort of committee of consumers rights protection, blah blah blah. So it is fairly common. So always expect trouble. It always expect threatenings. Whenever you make cold calls, even whenever you just post an ad on Facebook, you might just attract a bunch of haters. And even if you post a video on YouTube, you do stand a fair chance of attracting a bunch of haters flooding to the video you just posted a couple of minutes ago, telling you to F off, telling you to bug off, telling you to mind your own business, to get a life, and blah blah blah. While in the meantime, they don't actually have a life themselves. Probably it's a bunch of bots written by some hackers and some crackers from Russia, or even from China. So don't waste your breath with them. Just do whatever you have to do to get your life back on track, to to do whatever you have to do whatever you suppose you must do to get your life back on track, to rebuild your life, to get yourself back on your own feet. Ignore the hypocrites and the bots and the haters. Wells, I certainly don't deny that. Yes, you also stand a slim chance that you might happen to convert a hater or two into actual paying clients. But so far, I haven't actually discovered a fixed pattern or formula to follow in order to attain such an outcome yet. So that's why I keep saying, just keep learning, keep reading books. If you don't actually have that many friends or business partners you can speak with to exchange information and techniques about entrepreneurship, about MGTOW, about Bible studies, KJV only, and blah blah blah, etc. whatnot. So the only way that you can keep yourself motivated it's building, it's keeping building momentum for yourself, by the power and the grace of the Almighty God Jesus Christ. That's pretty much all I can think of so far for a fatherless dude like me. Yeah. So yeah, let's push ahead. I have less than 30 seconds to push an unconscious button within the listener's psyche, signaling that I'm safe and worthy of consideration. I have less than 30 seconds to condense a complex conglomeration of technical product features into a simple, common sense concept that the listener can immediately understand and remember. I have less than 30 seconds to convince the listener that my product will significantly lower costs, increase revenue, or both. When I'm not talking, I'm listening to every word, sigh, cough, and background noise, instantly analyzing every sound for subtle clues about the speaker's unspoken motives and concerns. Like a chemical reaction, the conversation unfolds at lightning speed. In a flash, my time is over, and I'm either a hero or a goat. A male goat. Gyazub in Russia. That pretty much means male goat. Well, it's not exactly an insult under Russian context, but you can make it. That's the beauty of Russian language. You can pretty much make any word you choose, and an insult. So long as you see fit, such as Yazu, hey, debut, you stepped on my shoe, and suka blyat, yup твою мать. In the time it takes to sip a cup of coffee, I turn into a prince or a pumpkin, usually the latter. Over the years, I've gained an uncommon tolerance for rejection. At least 95,000 of the prospects I've called in my career were not interested in what I was selling. Few people can tolerate so much bad news. So yes, actually, please allow me to share another main point of mine here. When it comes to making cold calls, you can't expect such a high rate of conversion if you don't actually have a concrete plan of which sort of industry pertaining to the products or the services you are pitching or you are trying to sell to that highly specific group of potential clients. If you don't have a crystal clear image or a plan about such undertaking, then you are the chances are that you aren't gonna have a fairly high rate of conversion, to say the least. But the main point that I make cold calls, nowadays, is to first of all get myself familiarized with the pattern of selling products or services, via making cold calls, and on top of that, to train up my speaking skills in order to overcome stuttering to the best of my abilities possible, if God's still willing. So I certainly don't expect that I can sell a product or a particular type of service successfully while I make cold calls. But yes, there's another point there. Whenever I cold call, for what it is worth, I'll almost always record such cold call conversation, and sometimes I release the video for free to the public on YouTube and on other free video hosting platforms like Rumble.com, for your viewing pleasure and for your referencing and learning purposes and research purposes in general. Yes, I will keep most of the highly specific cold call sessions that target highly specific industries or highly specific groups of people, as Patreon exclusive content, and that's pretty much how that's pretty much some sort of trick that I have managed to discover over the years, when I get so lonely, when I get so bored with my own life, with my own saddening, devastating circumstance. That's just another side note of review I would like to add to this video. Yeah, so let's continue reading. Let's try to finish up this chapter, since it's quite short here. It's rather short. So for that reason, I've always had a job. Over the years, I've gained an uncommon tolerance for rejection. At least 95,000 of the prospects I've called in my career were not interested in what I was selling. Few people can tolerate so much bad news. For that reason, I've always had a job. I'm like a grave digger. Somebody has to do it. But nobody wants to. Every company wants someone to make cold calls, but few have employees willing to do the dirty work. Time after time, I've seen experienced sales reps use any excuse to avoid dialing the phone. Typically, they are not interested in wading through hundreds of rejections to find a few diamonds in the rough. At the end of the day, physically exhausted and emotionally spent, I count my coins and remember the two eternal rules of telemarketing. If you don't sell, you don't eat. Number one, if you don't sell, you don't eat. If you keep calling, you always sell. Oh my god, I've never seen this. So, yeah, I have to agree with the author here so far, and let's move on to chapter 2. Nobody does it better. Compared to other sales strategies, telemarketing offers significant advantages, including surprise, personal contact, immediate feedback, flexibility, and cost effectiveness. So we have the element of surprise, whisper in their ear. It almost sounds like indoctrination and social engineering. Well, but it is a kind of social engineering, if not indoctrination at all. Making while you make cold calls, you try to incept incept a certain idea or a bunch of ideas into the subject's mind, and that aka you perform an inception. Yes, inception is possible, though it is bloody difficult to attain such desired outcome of yours, to manipulate the subject, in every possible way you see fit. Yeah, so telemarketing interjects an element of surprise that person-to-person sales calls do not. When you show up for an appointment, the buyer is expecting you. He has reserved time and energy for you. He is already thinking about you, your company, and your product before you sit down. A cold call from a telemarketer is totally different. The buyer is not expecting you and hasn't reserved any time for you. He's simply going about his business. His own may or may not be his own business at all. Putting out fires, trying to please the boss, juggling responsibilities at home, and thinking about where he's going to eat lunch. Emails are popping up on his screen. His to-do list still isn't getting done. He is deciding which calls to return. In the middle of this whirlwind, you call a strange person from a strange company with a strange product, looking for money. You are a gnat on the nose of the elephant, a speck in the eye of the tiger. You are uninvited, unexpected, because you basically come uninvited to their doorsteps, to the watchdogs guarding their minds and hearts. Yeah, that's pretty much what the author here is trying to convey. You are uninvited, unexpected, and generally unwelcome. But thanks to the power of the telephone, you are there in the buyer's ear, like the guy who yells fire in a crowded theater. You are heard above the cacophony. How do I pronounce this? Cacophony. You are heard above the cacophony, or cacophony, at least for an instant. depending on what you say and how you say it, you'll be heralded as a hero or just another bum who gets tossed out in the street. Once you get the decision maker's attention, you never know what he will say. You might get exceedingly lucky and be greeted with an enthusiastic yes on the other end of the line, or exceeding unlucky and get chewed out for a calling. You might encounter an objection or just vague puzzlement. You might be asked a question or hear a long silence. Regardless, you must instantly deliver the right words in the right tone at the right moment. Parry and thrust. You're a fencer facing an unpredictable opponent. Yeah, so Jesus Christ, this author is also seems so adept at writing, man. He writes so well. For most of my time, for the most part of my late teenage and early to mid 20s, probably even until now, I just, I kind of always have the preconception or predisposition that I don't actually read or write so well. But it turns out that it turns out that I don't write so well. Truly, I truly don't write so well, since, oh my God, this author here is so adept. It's so adept at writing, and in particular, catching the attention of his readers, and it so much that that you want to resume reading. You want to finish the book. You want to finish this book of his in a single filming session. But unfortunately, I just have some other work to attend to. And yes, I thank you very much for your attention, for stopping by at this video. And yes, I will definitely gather up some more strength and make myself some more time to push ahead with this, to push ahead with reading and reviewing this book at another time, on another day, probably on another day, maybe still at another time on the same day, which might be today, but still might be, the next filming session in which I read and review this book might still occur on another day, so stay tuned. And remain steadfast and have faith. And if God is still willing, I hope to see you guys in the next video of mine on YouTube. So take care, stay safe, stay put. And until next time, au revoir.